Hello and welcome to episode 58 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, what's going on?
I completely messed that up. I was gonna look super cool. I didn't, so it's just gonna be one of those weeks. Otherwise, I'm good though. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing quite well. I just want to compliment you on my name in the last podcast.
Thank you.
Really liked it.
Can you pronounce it?
I can. And I was actually thinking about it. I'm like, the only reason I know how to say that is because of watching this game. If I did not watch this game, there was no chance I would ever have any clue how to say that. That's Jaskalainen, no?
You see Jaskalainen, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But it's funny though, because you look at it and you think, Jaskalainen, or some really weird stuff. And trust me, Finnish is a very weird language. So good job, yeah. So football, basically watching football is also educational. What would you know?
Sometimes.
But I guess a lot has happened since last week. We saw the Hypervenom Phantom Vision 2s, or the Hypervision as we like to call it, come out, and the reception was, it was so-so. But the good thing is that today Nike have given us something that I think people will be more excited about. We're going to talk about, of course, the remake of, the Vapor 13 version of the Superfly 1. We're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss the new Adidas Tormentor pack, including the Predator Mania remake, which is the best one so far. But before we get into that, if you have any question for us, leave it in the comment section right down below. If you enjoy the Boot Nerds podcast in general, all of the 58 episodes that you've been able to watch so far, leave a like on the video. It's really going to help us. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast already, what are you waiting for? Go click the subscribe button with the notifications bell on, because we can see that a lot of you guys listening are actually not subscribed. So I don't know what's that all about, but go subscribe. So
it's very rude. Definitely be subscribed.
It's definitely go subscribe. And with that out the way, I think we should we just do it chronologically and start with the beginning of the week and the release of the mighty Adidas Tormentor pack.
Really, really, really good colorway.
Such a good colorway.
I have heard a lot of comments saying that it looks like the Predator 19 plus colorway that we got, the blue one with the red, and I think it had silver stripes, not white.
It does.
It does look like that, but this is very clearly, if you're a bit of a pred head, as the boot nerd community would say, you would immediately recognize that this is not a remake of a previous generation Predator colorway, but a remake of one of the best Predator colorways of all time in the Japan Blue Predator Mania.
Period. I totally agree. This colorway is absolutely fantastic. And there's so much. It's just one of those shades of blue that just has some life in it. It's a playful blue. I know it sounds completely ridiculous sitting here saying it's a playful, but it does have so much depth to it. And adding that red, adding the popping white stripes, and normally the whole blocking on the Pred 20 looks really good, but without having that whole graphical designs underneath the demon skin rubber fins to kind of make it less clean, I think it looks fantastic because it's so minimalistic and still there's a lot going on. And you really, I don't know. Have you seen X-Men, the new interpretation of the X-Men?
Yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of I feel like there's been a bunch of movies. I can't tell you which one specifically I've seen, but yeah.
If I say Mystique, Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay.
She's blue and she has all these red scales.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, a little bit. It's impressive how they took what is such. I think when the Pred launched, this new Pred, everyone was so surprised at how chaotic it looks. And this is still the exact same football boot, but it looks so much cleaner and deceptively simple in comparison to that launch colorway, just based on the colors chosen and the lack of, like you said, the pattern on the underside. Underneath all of the spikes.
And especially if we take the low cut 20.1s, I think it doesn't look like the classic Mania, but it still kind of does, because you have those very big bold stripes on the side. You have some red. It's not the elements that were red back in the day; they were white, but you still have that very clean, but still very popping color blocking that I appreciate a lot. So a very, I would say, very successful drop. And it was only made better, if they give us a Japan Blue inspired colorway, why not give us the actual Japan Blue Mania remake? And they did.
Yeah. And as we're recording this, I have yet to actually try these boots, but I am very, very excited to get these on my feet because this is as close to the OG. And I know we've seen plenty of Mania remakes at this point from the Adi brand, some of which have been very, very good. This looks like a proper remake. Like at a quick glance, that could fool you into being the OG.
Honestly, it could. Obviously, it's the same one-to-one upper that we saw on the red one, which I think, if I don't remember wrong, we both really, really liked. And we actually gave Adidas a lot of pats on the back for making a proper one-to-one remake upper of the Mania. Was the first time we saw that. But the problem with that boot, and we've talked about it a lot, was that it didn't have the split tooling that the Mania had, which means that the stripes couldn't run under the boot in like a full non-graphical execution. And now they have a split tooling because it's on the Predator 20. So whoever decided that is an absolute genius because it allowed them to do a proper remake like this to get much closer to the look and the feel of the original Mania. And to be honest, I think I'm not going to say I prefer the look of this to the OG Mania because that would be a bit of a like blasphemy, but it's damn close, man. It looks so sleek, it looks so streamlined, and it really follows that idea that Adidas had with the design of having these very angular lines. I think it follows that extremely well.
You know what? I think the more I look at this, what is effectively a hybrid, it's not a true remake because it is completely different tooling on the bottom. But I think what's fair to say about all of the Predator remakes that we've seen up until this point is that it's pretty clear that you have an older style upper on a newer style bottom. The top and bottom of the boot do not match. But I think that the simple addition of having those stripes flowing through the middle of the split sole, that's such a modern element, even though this boot is now basically 18 years old. 2002 was the first year, or was it 2001 for Mania?
2002.
So 18 years old, you put a sole plate on there from 2020 and everything looks like it's supposed to be that way. That's what's so impressive to me about the design of the Mania, and part of what makes it so iconic is it truly is timeless. And as old school of a style of football boot that is, it still looks modern.
And the reason, and I guess it's not the entire reason, but the reason is also one of the engineers behind the Predator 20 Plus Mutator. He's a fellow boot nerd, and he has been, obsessing over all these little details for a while. And he was actually directly involved in this. And I think he is one of the guys to thank for going into such little details as having the stripes actually running under the boot and making it look, as you say, it looks more holistic. It looks more like it's supposed to be like this. And what you said is putting into words how I feel a lot better than I could myself. So thanks for that. And the thing is that this also feels better. The fit is simply better in this than in the red one because it feels like the boot is simply built to work better with this type of tooling than the more completely flat, very wide Predator 18 and 19 plus outsole. Really good, and obviously, in my opinion, far superior to the OG Mania because it gives you everything that boot did, but with a much, much better outsole. Much better.
Yeah, it is. I hate to say contender for boot of the year because we're only in March, but I think that this is definitely like, how is this not going to be a top 3 boot of the year by the end of 2020?
I think it really depends on what you want because it looks like 2020 is going to be a very strong year, and it still has that bulk to it. It's not if you're into the ballerina type shoes and you like the Vapors and you like the X's and your Mizuno Morelli Neos, the Mania remake might not be the boot to go to because it still has that tank-like punch, powerful, solid sensation behind it when you strike the ball. But it's definitely been made more accessible to those ballerina boot-wearing guys, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But I mean, either way, if you're a Predator Mania fan, I realize that these are expensive, but I think that they truly are worth every penny. And look, they're only going to be remaking these boots for so much longer. I think if you really want a remake of an OG Predator Mania, this might be one of the last chances you get, because I don't see them remaking these for too much longer than they have. And they are, to be fair, kind of running out of colorways to remake.
True. Which one should be the next one if they do another Mania? I don't think they should, but what would you do?
Well, I was just thinking, like, I know that there's the gray one, like the gunmetal color one.
The gunmetal one, yeah.
Is that's the only other one that I can think of that they haven't made?
Well, there was the Luna one, which was the completely white one that they kind of did on the Predator 1980V, and then there was also the Skork one, which was also white, black, but had some red on the heel tab. That was really good. I'm definitely forgetting something here, and I should hang my head in shame. But those would be some of the bigger ones.
Those are the bigger ones. I was just thinking, this is how weird I am. I'm taking a shower this morning, and I was thinking about this exact topic of conversation in my head, and I'm like, you know, because I was just thinking, because I'm like, Japan Blue is such an iconic colorway for the Predator. And then obviously the black, white, and red is classic for the Predator. And then the third one that would really pop in my head was the neon yellow highlighter color that we had on the Accelerator. But for as iconic as that was for the Accelerator, they skipped over it when they did the Mania. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool to get a Mania in the highlighter yellow with the black and red details? That would be interesting.
You think?
No, I don't think, but I would still want it.
You would still want it?
I'd still want it. I think it might be horrible looking, but it'd be cool at the same time.
I feel like we're missing a colorway, but I don't think we are. I'm just looking at Google here, and I think I think we got it, because including Luna and Skork, we have Champagne, we have the launch colorway, the red one, the gunmetal one, the blue one.
Yeah.
If we are forgetting something, we do apologize. I blame Google.
Isn't that amazing though? Like, can you now, Jay? Tell me name every colorway of the Mercurial Vapor 11.
I think that's what's getting to me, because I'm sat here thinking it can't be that there's this few colorways of one of the best boots of all time in a lot of people's opinion. But I guess that is actually that is indeed the case. So I'm happy with this. I just want the gunmetal one, because that's really one of the colorways I associate with the Predator Mania. But let's see if they do another one. And frankly, I don't think they should right now, because this is very close to being, I don't see how they can make it better, to be honest.
Well, there's only one other thing they could do, and that's bring back that TRX bladed stud pattern. That's pretty much it. There's really nothing else.
But honestly, man, I'd rather have this.
Really?
Because when you, I think maybe you'll agree with me when you try it, maybe not. I know you like it slightly heavier and bulkier than me, but looking at how light this is and how well it works in 2020, I really think that I would far prefer this to the old TRX traction bladed pattern, because the studs back then was so long. We've talked about it for a while. But my line of thinking was that what they proved, and I also said this in the Unisport video, what they proved was that they have actually made an upper back then that was 2020 ready, so to speak. You can pull out this upper in 2020 and be very, very satisfied with it. It's super comfortable and it's a light boot. But it's all because of the tooling. Because, when you compare it to the OG boot, it's heavy as, something very heavy. I can't curse on the podcast, but it's very, very heavy. And, simply by changing the tooling into something modern, they've actually made a boot that feels significantly different, but is good enough, I would dare to say, for a lot of people in 2020. That's a very, very big thing for me, which means that I would definitely prefer this. And I think unless you really like it heavy and tank-like and to kill people with your studs, I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say most people would prefer this. It's just my opinion, though.
That's a fair point. I can't argue with you there.
But I look forward to hearing what you think when you actually try it out, because I think it's slightly different when you get him on. And that's the thing, right? Because there was a comment when we talked about the Hypervenom. I don't know when you saw it, that this guy actually went back, wore the Hypervenoms They didn't feel as good as he remembered. So maybe we have this like idea inside our head that, okay, the Mania was a really good football boot, and it was. But coming back to such a heavy boot, being used to what we're used to today, maybe it would be like too much.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think people have these fond memories of these classic football boots, but if you actually go and forget about playing in them, just put them on your feet again, I think you begin to realize, wow, football boots have evolved quite a significant amount. And I think it's hard to argue that they're not better from a fit and comfort standpoint at the very least. You might prefer the feel of something more traditional, but from fit and comfort perspective, it's hard to say that the older stuff is better.
And just look at this thing, you know, if you go Beckham style with the tongue, there's going to be this whole full area on top of your foot where you won't have use of the lasers. You know, it looks fantastic, but it's not for me. I love playing in the boot because it's super fun and reminds me of the old days. But yeah, I'm gonna go Pred 20.1 instead in a match, to be honest.
Cool. Which brings us to
what I'm really gonna wear in matches, because this is absolutely amazing. Vapor 13 Superfly 1, which I know we complained a little bit when Nike brought out the Hypervisions last week, which was basically the look of a Hypervenom on a pair of Phantom Vision 2s. We all wanted the remake, we didn't get it. But here, I actually think Nike made the right decision in giving us a boot that looks just as cool as the OG Superfly from 2009, but it doesn't suck and it doesn't fall apart all of a sudden. Because the Vapor 13 is an amazing football boot that looks every bit as cool as the OG. I love this. This is amazing. Are you? Where are you on this?
It's again, I think what the Mercurial line has done so well over the years is they've maintained that signature silhouette. So you can take the graphics from a football boot that came out in 2009? 2009, put it on a football boot that is 11 years newer, and really take 5 steps back and they look the same. That's crazy. That is so cool to me. I was personally, I have to be honest, I was never really a huge fan of that graphic on that generation of Mercurial.
Come on.
I really wasn't. I always preferred the colorways that had the more, because we had the yellow on yellow with the black swoosh and the black on black with the yellow. Those are my favorite ones. I was never a huge fan of like the contrasting kind of one side one color with the other side another color, which I think got even worse on the Vapor 6 Superfly 2. Yeah, I didn't care for that graphic either, I have to be honest with you. But I think you look at that graphic now, it still has a little bit of a modern look to it, and the fact that that's a colorway on a boot that never actually released to the public is also really cool.
And that's what I was going to say, because not only does this look fantastic, I think it's one of the more iconic Mercurial colorways for me, and one of the more iconic designs, because it also really marked a big change in the direction of Mercurial. A, it made the Mercurial shit for a couple of years, but B, it also really went in and focused on lockdown, basically. Being able to make the uppers thinner and lighter, because you had a technology that could actually take care of the lockdown. In this instance, Flywire. Okay, it didn't work initially, and Drogba's and Xavin's and what was it called? Luis Fabiano's boots. They all ripped. Proper wardrobe malfunction.
In a match, not in training. In a match, three guys.
In a match, in the middle of like a national team match between the Ivory Coast and God knows who. Drogba's blackout test boots, they just ripped badly. Just from like here and all the way down to here. It was awful. So Nike had to go back to the drawing board and, fix it. And this actually never released, so we only saw it on the feet of pros and in the form of a Vapor 5, which was ugly. But now, Josh, you can actually get to wear it. More or less.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I've told my stories about the Superfly 1 and my childhood experiences of trying to break in my brand new pair in the middle of December in Canada when it was like minus 15 outside, and it just didn't go well for me. But I think the Superfly 1 is while I don't think it was a very good pair of football boots, and I'm sure there's somebody watching this where it's like their all-time favorite, and if that is you, you must have feet made out of steel, because I don't understand how so many people liked those. But I think that boot represents a huge shift. I mean, the Mercurial series was always successful because it was so innovative and I guess technologically advanced to a point in that it was so different from everything else. But this really introduced, we had carbon fiber on the Vapor 4 SL for the first time, but this was really like, here is every technology that we could possibly throw at a single football boot in an effort to make the most advanced thing, period. And it really couldn't have happened at a better time for Nike, because imagine if this happened in like 2014 and you had pros in a match, like Cristiano Ronaldo is wearing blackout boots in a match and they explode. Can you imagine the backlash something that would cause from Nike? Like it happened like right before social media really became a big thing and everyone had it on their phones. But man, it's such a cool boot, and I really think it has had a huge influence on not just the Mercurial series, but Nike as a brand, because that's when they really started throwing out these proprietary technologies that were so much different than what everyone else was doing.
And I think this kind of helped them shape, as you say, the future, because it paved the way for doing it. Because now they had this technology that could actually support a very thin, soft, and light material. Because, you know, they could take the concept from Flywire and turn it into Brio cables, which was these basically a knitted version of those fiber Vectron threads. Help me, English.
On the
Vectron.
I don't know.
Anyway. Fibers, these little fiber threads that made the Flywire. They're very thin, very light, very strong. But that kind of paved the way for the Superfly, because it all came from this Motumbo running shoe that they did back in 2008, I think, that had the actual hole in the heel. Speaking of, you know, Coutinho and all his holes in the heel, that was a different idea back then, simply to save weight. But they didn't want to drill a hole in the heel, so they drilled a hole in the studs instead, which was a cool idea, and they saved 10 grams on the boot. But I don't know if you remember, but they simply just filled up with dirt and mud like that.
Yeah, that is the one thing that I don't know why Nike doesn't do anymore. Because I mean, my opinion of football boots now, and I think most people over the age of 20, I think they can recognize when things are completely useless like that. But as a kid, the holes in the studs was like, I want that boot simply because it has holes in the studs. Like, that was the coolest thing to me, even though it's ultimately the most useless thing, and probably does impact the traction negatively.
Yeah, well, Nike Sense disagrees, but close to being the most useless thing ever, yeah. And what was the Lotto thing? Lotto Twist and Go? That was
Twist and Go.
Rubbish. Twist and Go, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was more, it didn't make much sense. I just feel like it's one of those Mercurials that looks the fastest because of the, you know, how it basically follows the shape of the boot. It looks very aerodynamic. And to me, I think this was right when I had begun writing for Unisport back in the day. And, you know, I saw this, and to me, it just represented the next level. You know, it was another price point for boots. It was like the ultimate, as you say, they just slapped every bit of innovation they had into one boot. It was something truly premium. And I just have fun memories of it because of what it represented, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a visually, you put that under the right light, and it's incredible. Like, there's just so much happening, so much to look at. And man, the design really does. Every time you show me that new one, I'm like, man, the design translates so well. Even though it has the split sole, the fact they did the black stud plates, like, I'm convinced. Like, it's so easily recognizable, which I'm just really impressed with.
I totally agree. I'm a little bit bummed they didn't just like paint a full black one-piece sole, so to speak, but I think it works. It doesn't really matter, and I appreciate how they actually made the gray line flow naturally into the line on the inside of the heel. And I just don't have any complaints, because where we really wanted the Hypervenom 1 remake, this is just a much better version of the boot the Superfly 1 tried to be. because you have the technology inside of the boot taking care of lockdown in the high tenacity yarns. You have that really responsive, snappy outsole that the carbon fiber wanted it to be. You have a super light boot. And it basically just does everything, it's a thin upper. It does everything the Superfly want it to be, but now they just have the technology to make it work, make it comfortable, make it fit like a sock, and still be as featherweight, barefoot-like on the ball as humanly possible. So to me, this is like the 2020 reincarnation of the Superfly 1, and I flipping love it. I'm sorry, but I'm very excited.
Yeah, they did an excellent job. And I just wanted to comment on price. Can we just talk about the price? Because I really dislike people complaining about the price of these football boots. And while I think everyone would love to see them be a little bit less expensive, Vapor 4 SL was a $300 retail price football boot in the US. I'm not sure what it was in Europe. Probably 300 euros. Probably something like that.
I don't remember.
Superfly 1 came out. $350 price retail. That's not a special limited edition color. That's anybody can buy it, $350. Then Superfly 2 and 3 came out. And those retailed they went up another $50. There was $400 retail price on a football boot that anybody can go and buy because it's not limited at all.
And it was the shittiest crap. I'm sorry. That was a big scam. Yeah.
Like football boots as a whole right now, considering what they're doing from a technological standpoint, are pretty decent value. Like you're getting that Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite. There's just so many numbers now. Vapor 13 Elite, $250.
We're the experts here.
Yeah. That's $100 less expensive. And I guess when you factor in potential inflation from 2009, it's less than $100 less expensive than the Superfly one was. I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad they did it. It's one that I'm not sure I would have really expected from them, but I'm glad that they've done it.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually think, when I go and rock this in the weekend, people are going to look at him and think, wow, he's still rocking the OG Superflies because they look that much alike. They even have the old Mercurial lockup, as we call it, the old Mercurial font on the heel like they did back in the day. And it's just attention to detail. And you gotta commend Nike for it. I think it's great.
And the new ones have ACC.
The new ones have ACC, which is not to be forgotten. So if you put on SR4U lasers, you will have ACC and your boots might be able to also be invincible.
I've had some people message me saying that they now have the ability to fly, but that's unconfirmed.
That is unconfirmed. Yeah, I've also heard the rumors, but who wouldn't take actual invincible football boots when you put them on? You're gonna win every time, everything. So there will be 2 more drops in the whole future DNA thing. So I know I've been complaining a lot about this Hypervenom remake thing. What's your take on the whole future DNA thing now that you've seen kind of both sides of the coin?
I'd like the concept. I think I've heard a lot of complaints that it's not the remake we were hoping for, but it's not a remake. That's the thing. This is something we've seen them do on the Mercurial series for a long time now. Going all the way back to even as early as Mercurial Vapor 3, we saw remakes in the form of colorways of the original 1998 Mercurial, right? And over the years, it seems to be every once in a while, we get a special edition remake of a classic colorway within the Mercurial series. We just haven't really seen them take that concept and implement it on other football boots. We kind of did with that Air Max pack they did going back a couple of years now. Kind of the same concept. I think people are just more so disappointed because there's not a lot of interest around the vision. I think if they did that on the Venom, the response would be more positive.
Right, but not the Hypervenom on the Phantom Venom, right? You think it'll work?
I would be curious to see how it would work. I think that the striking element would complicate things in terms of the visuals of the boot, but I think that's logically the one that people would have expected. Again, I'm not mad at it. I think it's still so cool that I kind of like the idea of taking a football boot and making it look like another football boot entirely, and it being that convincing. I know up close it's not convincing, but again, if you were to just walk up on a football match and see some player running around in the midfield from a distance, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that guy's wearing Hypervenom Phantom 1s. And then you'd get close and, oh, he's not.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's cool.
And to be fair, you know, you also got to give credit to Nike for being consistent with making this many, you know, old colorways and designs on their boots throughout the years and still doing it so extremely well. I wanted to say this is probably the best, you know, old school design they've done, but it's nowhere close to being that. You know, 10th anniversary Vapor 3 is, wow, that was fantastic. But the funny thing is. The funny thing is that you mentioned this whole Hypervenom colorway on the Phantom. There's actually a question from Jamie Morrison that asks if we do think that the Hypervenom colorway would have been better on the Venom. I think you briefly explained why, but care to elaborate?
Ultimately, I think that the side view, if you looked at the lateral side, it would be a lot more convincing. When you talk about the flip side where you have the weirdly positioned Nike swoosh, I do think that striking element with all the texture, it would kind of wreck the visual impact of that swoosh, which is such a big part of the design. But that's my opinion. You seem to be laughing at something. Is something happening in the background, Jay?
No, I was just visioning. And that's what I thought. It's funny that I'm envisioning something on the vision. I was just thinking about, you know, how bad the swoosh would actually look on those striking elements.
I think that's probably the issue they ran into.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's a good call that they then put it on the Vision to have that, you know, powerful swoosh just pop better.
Yeah, again, I think they still did, to take a boot that looks nothing like a Hypervenom and make it look like a Hypervenom, pretty impressive. But I just want to I can't shout out the guy because I unfortunately did not remember the name, but I saw it on Instagram, and there's so many people that do these concept colorways, and I have to be honest, the vast majority of them they're kind of trash, but somebody did renderings of a Phantom Vision 2 to make it look like the CTR 360 Maestri 1 and 2, and it's unreal. Like the way that the V works in the design of the Vision lines up perfectly with, it was specifically the CTR 360 Maestri 2 in the launch colorway, which is like that maroon red color with the white at the back. It looked really cool. Like I would really like to see Nike make that. If I find it, I'll send it to you after.
The funny thing is that the next question on the list is from a guy calling himself Ilmiga. And when you said this about, you know, mocking up designs on the Phantom Vision, I thought about this guy who DM'd me, and he sent me this photo of actually mocking up the Vision 2 as the Magista Obra 1, and it looked amazing. I didn't save the photo on my phone, so I can't show it right here, but it was a funny little coincidence. So I agree, sometimes out there, would it have made more sense to do the Magista Obra 1 on the Vision?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, in terms of like lineage of that line, yeah, it makes more sense. But I think that it's also, well, I guess I can't say it's too soon because they have already done remakes of, we just saw the Superfly 6 Nike ID option. I think I actually have a pair of the 2014 World Cup Superfly. Remember that?
No. What are you talking? The Superfly 6
last year. So last year,
Superfly
6 Elite. You could order a Nike ID. They had the Nike ID pack where you could do the 2014 World Cup Superfly 1 colorway.
I'm thinking Vapor 6. I'm thinking which Vapor 6 design could we get on the Superfly 6? Oh, sorry. I'm just being stupid here.
No worries. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. They have already remade something from that era. So I fully believe that given what Nike is doing here, and I think the response overall has been positive.
True.
I think that a Magista Obra 1 look-alike remake is probably in the works at some point in time.
Most likely. I agree. And that would be good to see as well. Now, back to the question here from Ilmiga. And by the way, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer, you can leave them in the comment section right down below. Because like Ilmiga asks here, as Puma will launch this new speed boot that has been, you know, like we've seen on the feet of this Celtic player. It looks like a Puma boot. It looks like a speed boot. Do you think that the King silo will become a third silo among the Puma boots again, like a leather boot alternative for pro footballers? Or do you think that they will do a leather alternative model for the new speed boot? Love your content, guys. Cheers. Now, as of yet, there is nothing confirmed from Puma if this is indeed a new speed boot, if it's a concept boot, what it is. So it's hard to do anything else but speculate, but I can definitely see the King like getting taking up a position as the Jumbo Legend does, where it's not the key focus of the marketing, but it's there as a very viable option for everyone looking for a top level boot.
Yeah, I think that it makes sense based on what we've seen and what is very clearly something in the works from Puma. It's funny now how they don't hide blackout boots. Like before, blackout boots meant the boots are completely black. You don't know what they are. Now companies make blackout boots, but then they put a swoosh or the Puma logo or the Adidas stripes. Like they don't actually hide it anymore. They kind of want people to speculate on what's coming, which is kind of funny in itself. But I think the release and the return of the Puma King with the King Platinum, I think it allows them to leave that as their leather option. It's still a modern take on a leather football boot. And then with the future line and the Puma 1 and whatever this is going to be, whether it's a replacement or a new variation of the one, God forbid, it allows them to kind of play around with that. Because like we've seen from Nike, leather is kind of an outgoing trend. We see the same thing with Adidas. If you want leather, you got to buy the Copa. If you want leather, you got to buy the Tiempo. If you want leather from Puma, you got to buy the Puma King.
And yeah, it's interesting. For me, they should do something else than just having the King Platinum, because it's a great boot. But if they really want to challenge Nike and Mizuno on the throne for leather boots and even Adidas, they just have to make it slightly more modern for me and do something to the leather that's a little bit more extraordinary than what they do right now. But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think as it is right now, it's maybe a little bit too simple to have mass appeal.
Right. I agree. Yeah. So a question from Bin Bags, and this is where you look into your magic fortune telling ball, whatever it is. Will there ever be a UK Unisport store?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I have no idea. Would be cool one day, but I guess not tomorrow, at least. But we do have amazing stores in Copenhagen and Paris. Shameless plug, by the way. So go and visit if you're ever around, and you can travel in these locked up times. But if you are in Paris, go check it out. It's actually pretty cool. So a question from It Ain't OBC. When do you think Nike will do a Magista remake? Speaking of the devil. And there's actually this discussion in the comments, which is amazing, by the way, that you guys also discuss internally and not just with us, whether it should be the Magista or the CTR 360 Maestri boots that should be remade as that classic number 10 control boot. What do you think here?
You know what? I hear this so often now, and I didn't realize it. I felt, and I don't know what your opinion was now looking back, but when Magista Obra 2 was replaced by Phantom Vision, I thought, oh, it's a name change. I thought it was a little bit weird that they were bringing back Phantom after killing Hypervenom Phantom. But I'm like, oh, they're probably going to generate more interest by changing the name, even though Phantom Vision could have realistically just been Magista Obra 3.
Yeah.
Like the name at the end of the day was meaningless, but I think looking back now for Nike, they probably regret making that change, because I think that the Magista name holds a lot more weight than they realized, given the fact that it was the first to introduce the whole mid-cut Flyknit sock boot concept thing, right? So Magista Obra 1 was a huge success. Same with Superfly 4, those first generation of the knitted boots. But Magista Obra 2, for the most part, I know people really liked it. I think it was a solid pair of football boots in a lot of ways, but from a sales perspective, it did not do very well. So that, I think, was Nike's main motivation for changing the name more than anything, because I think regardless of how well Obra 2 did, it was always going to be, the next generation was always going to be the Phantom Vision, right? But yeah, I think people really missed that Magista name.
But which boot would you remake if you were Nike then? Or make an updated design tribute to like the Future DNA pack?
Yeah, it would have to be the launch colorway. It has to be that original Volt Yellow, I think.
Would it be that or the CTR 360 Maestries?
Well, now you're going back even further, right? Because Magista only came about because they didn't want, because you can actually find early prototypes, and Nike has released these images themselves of something that has the resemblance of a Magista Opera 1 with CTR 360 branding on it. But the reason why they decided to change the name was because it was such a drastic change of concept that it made more sense to have a new name to go along with that new concept, right? And again, just as people were upset about Magista changing to Phantom Vision, they were upset about CTR 360 changing to Magista, right? So I think this is a lot of people just kind of reminiscing on the past and really just wanting back what they had before. Does the name really mean that much? I don't know. And in terms of doing a remake of that original Magista, I think what was cool about that original boot is that all of the detail was within the Flyknit pattern itself. So unless you were to actually remake that Flyknit pattern, I think that having a printed variation of that, kind of like what they did with this Hypervenom remake on the Vision right now, it would probably look cheap. At least that's what I think.
I think I agree with you. And just from like what would I rather see? I would probably rather see a Maestri, just
100%
for me personally. But maybe there's also a little bit of like it's not revisionism, but it is like, historical bias in there. It was just like a good period for me of playing football, and I remember the boots fondly because of that. And maybe it's just attached to feelings more than the actual boot. They were great boots, and I think I enjoyed playing in them more than I enjoyed the Magistas. But it's such a personal thing.
Okay, well, look, if I'm betting on this today for what of that lineage is going to come back first,
Magista.
I would bet I would bet CTR 360 Maestri 3, because I think the story of that being the first boot to incorporate ACC technology is possibly a really good route for Nike to go, because they don't want to bring these boots back without having a story to tell. And I guess there's a lot of storytelling opportunity with Magista Opera 1, but it's also, when you break it down, is it really that different of a concept versus what they're still doing to this day? Not really, right? No. CTR 360 is totally different. And I would love to see something like that come back again. I think there's a big gap in the market for that style of football boot.
Especially now that we've seen Adidas bringing back the Predator with huge success. I mean, the 20 plus is sold out everywhere. I think definitely there would be a market for that, where you get some more physical elements on the boots. That would be very interesting to see from Nike if they bring that back one day. So Team Geist, basically it's not a question, it's more like just a comment, but it really made me laugh. So we discussed this absolutely disgusting F50.8 that we really hate. And he says, I have something important to say about the F50 tunage you talked about last week. I learned that they called the hideous translucent back part of the boot alles klar technology, which is the single most awful pun I've ever heard. And I hate these boots even more now. I couldn't stop. If you speak German, alles klar is like, okay, all good. And it's and klar also means like see-through. So alles klar is mean, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Nah, I think you got to speak German for the joke to make any sense, but it's...
You know what? Has Adi being a German brand, I can't think of too many technologies that they've given German names to other than that.
No.
At least when you're talking about the football boots, right? It's pretty uncommon for them to do that.
Yeah, true. I mean, I was going to say, obviously, because of the name Team Guys, but that was because the World Cup was in Germany as well. But you're actually right, yeah. I don't think they have. And I never heard about this, so it might not be true, but I don't see why it shouldn't be. Alles klar technology. That's amazing. That's actually, that's like someone, was sat at the Friday bar thinking, okay, guys, what on earth are we going to call this technology? It's super cool. Guys, I've got it. Alles klar. 3,000. Let's go home.
Well, I just remember that was 2007 was the first year, because at 50.7, maybe it was even 2006. So I was still 13, 14, 15 years old.
Right.
Not going to do the math right now, but just you had to go online and find some press release website and read about the boots and read about the technology. And I'd read, I'm like, alles klar. And I'm just kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, is this just a word that I've never heard before? Not realizing it's a completely different language that I have no idea what this means. I'm just like, I remember Googling, I'm like, what the heck is this? And there's obviously no research results because it's just a made up thing. But
that's amazing. Yeah, well, it's German, and now you know it's a super bad pun for a technology name. Awesome. Last question here from Jason Moore. Would you prefer the Puma King Platinum, the Mizuno Mercurial Neo 2 made in Indonesia, aka the Elite, or the Repula 3 Elite that's also made in Indonesia? 2 girls over drinks and go.
You're not going to like my answer, but for me personally,
come on,
man. I would end up with those Platinums.
Come on, man.
I would. I'm sorry, I would. I think those are both great boots from Mizuno, but for me personally, if they're going to be on my feet, I prefer the Platinums.
Well, you know, I understand. I think it's a fair answer. You know, they're all great boots. And you can't buy the wrong boot here, basically. It's all about, for me, finding out which of the boots fit your foot shape the best. Because the Mercurial is the tightest, the most narrow of the bunch. I would say the King Platinum is somewhere in between, and the Repula does have a bit more width to it. They're all high-quality leather boots. They're relatively light, all of them. And, you know, I would take any of them and wear happily in my weekend match. So I'd say go for the fit and, or listen to Josh. He's not wrong. They're great boots.
No, you're right. All 3 of those are really good boots. And the made in Indonesia Mizuno stuff is really underrated because the quality is top notch.
And exactly. And, you know, it might sound, it's not made in Japan, but for 200 euros, you know, I know it's the same price as the Puma King Platinum, which is also really, really good value for money. So I understand why you're looking at those boots. But they're all, I mean, I can't tell you what to choose because they're all great, and it really depends on your foot shape and what you are specifically looking for in a boot.
But you know what? I'm also picking this based on comfort for me.
Right.
But if I really value durability, which I know a lot of people do, I wouldn't be picking those Pumas.
Nah, because even the Indonesia, aka Elite boots from Mizuno, are durable. They couldn't go really through a nuclear war as the Vizaro 2s from New Balance could, but they're close. Anyways, Josh, that was it for today's questions, actually. Me no speak English anymore. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to do the rest of the podcast from this day forward in Canadian English and Danish. Så det bliver sådan her, vi kører. Det bliver helt fantastisk.
I agree.
Nah, guys, if you have any questions, leave them right down below and we will get back to Josh. Any comments on the many releases we've seen this week?
Very happy with them. I think that it's been a very good week for football boots. I have no complaints.
We didn't talk shoes,
about that.
We got these, which are, well, if you want a knitted version of the Hypervenom Phantom 1 Nike Skin upper and you like to play street football, this is the single best thing you have bought in your life.
They're really good, right? I don't think we've talked about them, but they're really good.
They're so good. I just completely forgot about it. We can talk about them some more in another episode because I think we got to finish this off. But so if you want to hear us talk more about the React Gatos and why we think they're so awesome, I think this is even going to replace the Luna Gatos as my favorite street shoe. Let us know in the comment section right down below and we will get back to you. If you want to see what Josh has to say on the shoes, you can go and check out his video on it. If you go subscribe to his channel right over there, you can see what we're up to at Unisport by clicking the green bubble near my face here. But also, of course, don't forget that if you're one of those guys who haven't already subscribed to the best podcast around football boots on the interwebs, you can go and click the white bubble in the middle of your screen and turn on those notifications. And with that said, jeg er JayMike, og jeg godkender den her besked. Signing off, cheerio. Hi.
Alles klar. That's strong. Peace out.
Right. Okay. I
appreciate it. I also know 9.
9? Okay, yeah.
9.
It was better to say alles klar there, yeah, definitely.
Okay, perfect.
You can also say Bier vom Fass. That's like a drought beer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's all the German you need. Or Apfelstrudel.